This week's episode of Dude Soup is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your online privacy today at expressvpn.com/RTTV. Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast for this week, the Funhaus podcast. We are filming this on January 12th, 2021, and it's a special episode today because we've got James Willems joining. As always, he always makes it special. Golf claps. Some tepid golf claps. And two wonderful guests that we love, Barbara Dunkelman and Eric Bador. Thank you guys so much.
What's gonna be my Twitter handle? What's mine? What's my joke?
Probably just your normal name. Oh, the joke is you can't see it on your white shirt.
Dunksmen.
I'm going the wrong way.
It says Dunksmen.
But there was a point of contention before the show because Eric tried to backseat produce this episode.
He'll do that.
I'm in the front seat.
Oh, pardon me. He's in the front seat. Yeah. I don't know how to drive stick. So Eric said, I'll take over.
When I learned how to drive stick, I bought a car from my friend Andrew. We drove it around a college parking lot for about half an hour. And then I paid him $1,800 for it. And then I went, all right, cool, see you later. And then I drove it from San Diego to Orange County right then. And I went, well, hoping I'll fuck this up. And it only died once when I exited the freeway, but I did not crash it otherwise.
I mean, high speeds, first and second gear is basically the only thing that causes any sort of trouble. That's the once you got your wheels turning, you're gonna be good on the manual.
You put it in fifth, and you just gun it, just go.
Yeah, get the RPMs high enough.
Yeah, a little 97 Hyundai Accent, just floor that thing, just see what happens. You just go, you just do it till it stops, and then sometimes it stops and doesn't start again, and that's why I had to buy another car. So,
R.I.P. If you're watching or listening, you're not familiar with Barbara and Eric. Barbara is the voice of Yang and Ruby, Rooster Teeth. Just
that's it. That's all I do now.
She is a queen, a comedy queen. Content queen.
Thank you, my liege. Thank you.
It's great because Elise has a plan. She always has a plan, but then as soon as the plan starts, it's like if she was leading a bunch of soldiers. She's like, all right, everyone, who's ready? And she's getting in their face and she gives this big speech and she takes one step right onto a landmine.
I just feel like Barbara does so much. Like Eric, I'm like, oh, you know Eric from Face Jam.
That's all he's done.
That's all so much.
And the other voice that sometimes appears in the RT podcast sometimes when we're getting off on a really awful tangent, he comes and saves us.
And I'm jacked. Look at this. You guys see this?
Look at that.
Can you get a close up on me? Just camera on me. Look at that shit.
Jacked Patillo right up in here.
Bang, 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 bang.
It's lower again.
You see that shit? Oh my God. WrestlingWithTheWeek.com to subscribe to Wrestling with the Week, the new podcast.
You save the promotions for the time that it is. He's taking this show.
This is when everyone's watching and listening. Ladies and gentlemen at home. Ladies and gentlemen at home, thank you so much for having me inside your house. Thank you so much for welcoming me inside your home. My name is Eric Bador. I'm a producer here at Rooster Teeth, and I'm excited to be with you today. I'm so excited to be part of this Funhaus podcast. It's not called Dude Soup anymore. It's not what we call it. It is now called the Funhaus podcast, and I'm so excited to be here today. Guys, I'm producing a new show. It's called Wrestling with the Week. James Willems, Scorpio Sky. Thank you, Barbara. That was good. Someone note that. James Willems, Scorpio Sky. A new podcast, joint venture between AEW and Rooster Teeth coming together. What fun we are going to have when it premieres this coming Monday, January 18th. James, are you excited for Wrestling with the Week?
So what does Barbara do?
What doesn't she do, James? The question is, what doesn't she do, James? Because she acts, she writes.
I'll tell you what I don't do. I don't do Wrestling with the Week. That's the one show that I have zero involvement in.
I've heard that the producing team might be,
doing a good job. Yeah, you heard right.
I am excited for Wrestling with the Week. We're going to talk about it later, but you can check it out now if you can't wait. What I wanted to do today, though, that Eric was poo-pooing, which is we did an episode in December where we tackled some of the hard questions that the subreddit Ask Reddit, poses to its community members. And I asked them and we had a good time. And Eric said no.
I did not say no. I said,
you said no. You said flat out no.
I said that we would not be needed. I said, just let me go. Just spin me up, wind me up. Let's go rock and roll, pedal the metal. We can do this whole fucking thing.
Maybe Barbara could do that. Maybe Barbara couldn't do that, but she's endeared to our audience.
I would just say this: villain. Eric is like he's Rudy, right? The movie Rudy.
Oh, Giuliani.
Except he's not.
I'm sweating
not the
and there's just black shit coming off my head. Yeah.
Melting.
He's not the character. Eric's the best example I can come. Eric is the quarterback who gets sacked by Rudy at the end of the movie. Rudy.
Oh no!
He's like, "Let's go!" It's like, who was that kid? He was so small.
If I could play devil's advocate here for Eric.
Ooh, you must be on Twitter a lot. That's great.
I know. What I will say is that me and Eric rarely get to do stuff with you guys, get to do podcasts with you guys. So we will have tons of stuff to talk about, and it will be a fine and dandy time regardless of the subject matter. So I will agree with that. But I do like Ask Reddit questions. Those are really fun.
Thank you, Barb. That's what I wanted to hear.
I've been lucky enough to be on the Rooster Teeth podcast several times. And I always admire the fact that I hop onto that show and there's zero preparation. And then it just starts, and then Gus goes, "Hey, welcome to the show. Get through the pleasantries." And then Gus goes, "Noodles, huh?" And then that's the next 90 minutes, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like it doesn't have a producer.
It does. You don't understand. Listen to me right now.
He's taking
off his
Listen to
hoodie
me right now. What I'm telling you is that the energy for that show, there's so much stuff that we talk about before that show even starts, trying to get people in this headspace of like being mad at the moon. What's up with tall dogs? How come a raccoon is in Gus's backyard all the time?
So mostly
like, you gotta
animal
start
stuff. I get it.
Yeah, a lot of animal stuff.
I have a question. You know, most animals like dogs, horses are the same way. When you consider their height, it's measured to like their shoulders, right? But I say, get them to stand up on their hind legs, see how high they can actually get. That's my rant. Thank you for your time. I concede my time to Eric. The remainder of the time, I concede to Eric.
Thank you so much. I think I have a tweet. I think I have a tweet that said, it says, "You ever see a dog that's too tall, pretty messed up, make him shorter." So that's just a draft tweet, something to think about.
How tall is
What's
Benson?
up with that? Shrink
Oh,
him.
he's not tall. Sometimes Benson look big. Sometimes he looks small.
As soon as you put him, if you put him next to anything that you can recognize from our world, then he looks small again.
Yeah.
I think I remember being like surprised when I first met Benson in person at how small he actually was, because I thought of him as like a big old honker chonker. But
chunk. He doesn't have the honk. If he's standing next to James, he looks quite small, and it's very funny. Like sometimes we just laugh at him
next to James.
Oh, Barbara, you're speaking his language right now.
True, very true. True statements. We should have Barbara on more often.
That's what I do on every podcast. I just suck up to the host to make sure that I can come back at some point.
Smart. That's good. That's
very different strategy than Eric Bedour.
Yeah, yeah, I just try to do what I want to do on the podcast. Yeah. When does Ryan Haley show up and then we start doing his bargain bin thing?
He's in the edit dungeon.
Oh, I thought that was today.
We've already booked out season 1. All right, there's no. Maybe we'll put you in season 3.
Oh, okay. Cool. Oh, wow. That's what Greg Miller promised me too, and here we are, still in the situation we're in. I don't know.
Uh-oh.
You've shown up to the show. You've already tried to bogart the show. You've insulted the host's questions, which aren't technically my questions, I guess. But I'm going to ask one.
Okay.
How do you cope with the fact that you failed?
Eric, which is a weird thing to have found on Ask Reddit, but it was there.
So specific.
That was a question. That
wasn't really on Ask Reddit.
How do you cope with failure, I guess?
I can speak to this.
Ooh, cool. I've never failed, so James, go ahead. Tell me what it's
I was also going to say, as someone who has never failed but has listened to other people tell stories about their failures, it's funny because I always listen to stuff when I walk Benson, and I try and do this thing where I'll listen to entertaining audiobooks and or podcasts, and then I'll switch over to things that I feel like are self-developmental. And I don't know if anyone here has ever listened to Tim Ferriss, his podcast. He gets pretty amazing people on, very like accomplished people, and then basically like asks them about their process. And he recently had on power lifter Steffy Cohen, who, again, if you don't know, she is one of the strongest women on the planet. She is a multi-world record holder. She has like a doctorate in physical therapy. Damn. And I think she currently has the record. She's deadlifted 4.4 times her body weight.
Oh my God.
So she's a beast. She's great. But one of the conversation topics that they got onto with her was about failure. And her big thing was like, I love failure because that shows me a new thing, a new challenge that I can work to overcome. And like, they had a very long discussion about how failure, you shouldn't be able to succeed at everything. And failure shows especially people who like to learn and grow, failure is such an amazing opportunity to go like, yes, there's more that can be done here. And as opposed to being successful at everything you try.
Yeah, it's also interesting because like if you think of the people who've succeeded at something in life, you've only seen their successes. You haven't seen every single time that they've failed. And I think that's like I've heard people reference that all the time. But I think it's important to remember of just like you're only seeing people like the people who you see be successful at something, they've failed at things constantly. It's just something that you kind of have to go through in order to get to where you want to be. You're going to fail multiple times, and that's just like part of life. Unless you're Eric, of course.
Yeah, then you just crush it. But like,
yeah,
I get it. I get where that comes from of, hey, everyone fails in their success and like that continuing effort and everything like that. But I can't think of something that I identify with less than when people go, oh, I love failure. It's just an opportunity to do something else. It's like, that's insane. That is so fucking crazy to me. Like, I am not wired that way. I can't think of anything like, dude, I fucked this up and it went so bad. It was tight as shit. Like, no. I get it. It's like, I know where that's coming from and I understand it from like an intellectual level, but like on an emotional, like human, I'm a regular person and not someone who's has like a doctorate and like world records. I just make middling podcasts for the internet. Like I'm not wired the same way as like these other people.
I think being able to fail and accept it and move on with renewed like vigor is a skill, and it's something that is tough. And you always hear about these studies where someone who was like really exceptional as a kid, things came naturally to them as they were an adult and they kind of evened out. It became harder for them to not just naturally be good at something.
You're just describing the plot of Royal Tenenbaums.
I think like Elise, what you just said is I know so many people like that. I fit into that category also. And I absolutely understand it. I think that it's become a crutch for a lot of people to go, yeah, that was me. And then, but there's what's the growth. Next? Exactly. Yeah. It's just the like, yeah, man, I was in accelerated learning in 5th grade and I was just crushing it. But then now I'm like at this job and it's like, right. You can still be that person. You just have to put in more effort than you thought you did when you were, 9 or whatever.
You have to practice and get over the fear of failure.
Yep.
And it's a learned thing, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also really hard, especially in like any sort of creative field, or I guess any field in general where there's competition or people you could see and like directly associate with doing quote unquote better than you are, or like being better at a skill than you are, and getting discouraged immediately from even trying because you're like, well, I'm never going to get to that level or whatever it is. And this is something that's like one of my favorite quotes of all time is that comparison is the thief of joy. And constantly comparing yourself to other people, what they're doing in their field or life or whatever it is, saying, I'll never get there. It's going to make you either stop trying or just feel down on yourself for even attempting to try. Yeah. So don't do that.
The feeling like it's too late to start now trying. Right. It's like, just start, just do it. If bullshit means fake and batshit means crazy, what do the other shits of the animal kingdom mean?
It's a new question. Okay.
I was gonna say you didn't even segue. I was gonna say I was talking to someone the other day, and I said I miss being 26 and thinking I was too old to do stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, I'm 34 now, and I'm like, oh yeah, remember when you were just like, I'm in my mid-20s. I'm too old for that. And it's like, that's hilarious.
So much time back then.
I'm 34 now too, and I think I try more stuff than I did then.
Yep. So anyway, I think dog shit means gross. Like, it's bad. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So dog shit means like bullshit, no?
No, I think dog shit's like, I call a lot of stuff dog shit. If something is, I don't like it. If something is bad.
Of poor quality.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Like immediately, dog shit.
Yeah.
Like, What else?
Like bear shit.
Horse shit is something where someone
horse shit is something.
That's a load of horse shit.
Horseshit feels like it is also false, similar to bullshit, but it's like offensive, like it's an attack, right? Like
horseshit.
When someone says something to you that you know to be false, you're more likely to accuse that of being horseshit than you are to accuse it of being bullshit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like bullshit is a late night ad that says you can get 10 inches to your vertical leap in 6 hours or something,
I think this question is asking what are unnamed shit, like bear shit. What would a bear shit
or like
refer
cat
to?
shit?
Mm-hmm. Well, bear shit in the wood.
Yeah, right. Because chicken shit's like scared. Right? Like yeah. But like, what's like
penguin
shit? Yeah, like what's like a cool bird that like shits?
Falcon shit.
Falcon shit. Hawk shit.
Hawk shit.
What's hawk shit?
I think that's like someone's like saying someone's cool, like cool or. Like rad.
Well, what if I feel like it could be something that's hawk shit could be something that like any of us would think is really great, but like it means nothing to a Jeff Bezos. Like something Jeff Bezos would throw out on his lawn that we would be like, someone's getting rid of this. This is hawk shit.
I'm kind of with Barb on it's like really, because when I worked in Viacom, we would go to lunch at this like area called the Water Garden. Mm-hmm. And there was a guy that always showed up. He was a falconer, and he always looked like he was going to he dressed like he was going to a run fair, but it was just like a Tuesday at a business park. Mm-hmm. And he'd have all, and we my friends and I we would go at lunch just to like watch the falconer, and then we'd all be like, he's so cool, like he must get so much puss. Yeah, so, yeah he was hawk shit. He was hawk shit.
Oh man, you know what women love? A guy who handles birds. Awesome.
Commands
know what
birds.
Century it is?
Commands birds.
I wanted hawk shit to be a thing where it's like you like beating someone up, just because I wanted to say like talk shit, hawk shit. And then
I like that.
Talk shit.
Yeah.
So in that case, hawk shit would be the description of being beaten.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
if you talk shit, you're gonna hawk shit.
Yeah, and it like doesn't really jive, but for the rhyme, like I really want it. Like I really want that.
Gotcha. Okay.
But that's just me, you know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just don't think there's enough bird related thing. Here's the thing about birds. Birds have had it too good for too long. Birds have been around and they've been doing whatever they want, unfettered for eons. Unfeathered for eons. They fly around. They live in trees. They live on the ground sometimes. They go into the water. It's all fucked up. I don't like it.
What are
I've had enough of it.
They're not doing anything to you.
That's the thing, Elise. The fact that they are in my space, the fact that they can do whatever they want and no one can stop them. What am I supposed to do about that?
Awkward encounter with a bird the other day where I was
not doing anything. I see.
I got out of my shower, and I have like windows in my bathroom, but like they're higher up on the wall, so people outside can't see in. And there's a bird perched outside the window, and I literally like covered myself.
Oh, because
they're all eyes too.
GoPro.
Because they're looking straight at me. Yeah, maybe there's a camera in there somewhere that I don't know about.
In the glass eye of the bird.
Can I tell you what I don't like about birds?
Yes.
Other than their leering eyes, I don't like that there's such a discrepancy between their intelligence levels. Like there's like a pigeon who will fly directly into a windmill and die, and then there are crows who will use small tools to pry open IKEA packages and build themselves couches to put instead of a nest.
Can't you say the same thing about humans? Like that discrepancy of intelligence?
But it's not. I don't feel like it's that dramatic. That like there are some. I mean, yes,
I think have proven otherwise.
there's stupid people, but I feel like there's stupid people that still function within their normal. Their just decision making is real bad. But
right. I think the intelligence of people is a big gap, but the intelligence of birds is like gigantic.
It's massive.
Massive. We're like
is that
dogs.
Not a winged creature on the flag behind you?
Oh, it is. This is the Mexican-American friendship flag.
Okay, I'll allow it. These two great countries to share a bond.
They're a friend. It's friendship. It's time for friendship. And so I think that this bird is destroying a snake, which is Good on him. That's great.
The irony is that I think the snake represents America. And
oh, I'm fine with that then. That's okay. Yeah, eat away.
Mm-hmm. Next question. Why would a kidnapper return you? I love this question.
I think I've made that clear through the first 24 minutes of this podcast.
Right. The bird rant really solidified it.
They take the gag off me. The thing about birds.
Yeah.
I'll start. I think the kidnapper, I don't think there'd be any one. I can think of many reasons, but I think the kidnapper, they just figure out that there are too many problems, too many health issues. Her back's bothering her. She's got a rash. What even is the catalyst for the skin rash? She won't stop pooping.
She has to poop all the time.
Who poops that much? I just think I just think that would be too much for them. James, do you disagree?
At least I feel like the kidnapper would let go of you because, like, you're so you're too humble to a fault. Where you'd be like, "Why do you want me? Like, you don't want me.
Do you want
I'm
these
not
tighter?
That cool." Like,
you would convince them that you had no worth. You would trick them into believing that you had no worth, and they'd say this was a waste of our time.
I just think he could do better. I think he could get more ransom money. Someone else. James,
have you seen Eric?
Yeah. Have you seen the bird guy?
He's never failed once in his life.
No, nope.
Never once. I'm great. Take me, baby. I think I would just be like, I think they'd be like, we're done with this guy. He's like dehydrated from crying and pissing his pants like the whole time. And so like, I think they would just be like, we can't keep giving him Gatorade so he can keep crying and pissing his pants. And they would just sort of like keep me tied up, but like toss me out the side of a van with a Gatorade so that way it can like last a little bit longer. But I just don't think you're going to get anything for me to begin with, you know?
Yeah.
James hasn't said why they would return him.
I was waiting. I was letting him
like
finish.
deflecting.
I mean, I had my answer right away, and it seems pretty obvious to me. It's that I'm dead. So it's just a body thrown on the sidewalk with a bullet in its head.
Okay.
So
yeah, they wanted to keep him. But
murdered, underwear on, inside out. Not because they did anything, but that's just how, unfortunately, on this particular morning, I did not notice the tag.
I feel like I would get returned because, like, I'm a very sweaty person, but, like, especially under pressure and stress and being scared, I'd be, like, 10 times as sweaty. And I feel like I'd just be too slippery for them to, like, manage. And they'd be like, fuck this,
through the ropes.
Because they'd have you in a rug. And then as they're carrying the rug, you shoot right out.
Yep, like a slip and slide, internal slip and slide.
Bird watching.
And he keeps turning his body, but he can turn his head 270 degrees. So he's like, oh, that bird's not looking at me, but he's looking at you.
He's looking at you. The glass eye.
Well, up next, we're going to get to the bottom of what's more difficult, being dumped or dumping someone. But first, a word from one of our sponsors. The curators at Bespoke Post have done it again this winter with an all-new lineup of essential Box of Awesome collections to guaranteed to upgrade your life, whether it's a showcase piece to level up your indoor hosting skills, like maybe a decanter set, or cozy threads like a jacket for blustery days. Bespoke Post only sends the best stuff every month. No matter what you're into, Box of Awesome has you covered. From style and grooming goods, we're talking shave kits, to barware, nice little like glasses that you can display, cooking tools. I have a sweet knife that I always tell you guys about. It could probably cut through a shoe, but I use it to cut meat and other vegetables, etc. Though it could cut through a shoe, I think, if I wanted it to. Outdoor gear. Box of Awesome has collections for every part of your life. It is awesome. To get started, take the quiz at boxofawesome.com. Your answers will help them pick the right box of awesome for you. They release new boxes every month across a ton of different categories. Free to sign up, and you can skip a month if you're not willing to treat yourself that month. You can't, and you can cancel at any time. Each box costs only $45, but has over $70 worth of gear inside. So get 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter the code DUDE at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com, code DUDE for 20% off your first box. Thanks, you Box of Awesome. So sometimes, you're in a relationship and you say, dump me, daddy. Or you say,
that's different.
I'm kicking you to the curb.
That's what you say to the kidnappers. Dump me, daddy.
Dump me, daddy.
Dump me, daddy.
Is it harder to break up with someone or to deal with the heartbreak of being broken up?
Break up with someone. I as someone who's been in both situations, breaking up with someone fucking sucks. And working up the courage to do it and not wanting to hurt the person you're with and constantly fearing and having anxiety about what their reaction is going to be, not wanting to abandon them because, you know, in a relationship, typically you care about someone and love someone. And if you're breaking up with them, obviously it means there's reasons it's not working. But it's hard because when you get broken up with, there's not really much you could do. And it's kind of like you rip the Band-Aid in that situation. Whereas when you're breaking up with someone, it's probably going on in your head for
a long time.
Weeks, if not months, if not years, you know, depending on the situation. So,
Barb, what if the person you're breaking up with has a really mean looking bird?
Oh, then it's easy.
Oh, wow. But what if the bird does something? But what if the bird's like,
it's
an
like
attack bird?
You can break up with me, but he's seen everything.
This crow remembers faces and will use small tools to make your life a misery. He's gonna jam little
some hawk
sticks.
shit.
It's fucked. Fuck!
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, hawk shit. Fuck.
I don't know. Do you guys agree? Do you think the same thing?
I agree with you, but I think that I think there's just like, this is one of those answers where it's like, there's no what, you can't win. There's not like, that's a good answer, and I agree because it's both. It sucks either way. It's tough. It's just tough, especially when you're growing up and like you don't know how to handle some of these situations. It's just, I think it could be detrimental to you as you get older in like ways that like you just like don't understand the ramifications of like how this stuff can affect you. And I just like, you know, breaking up with someone or being broken up with, I don't think that there's a good like, this
sucks.
is the better way. It's obviously it's always bad, but I just think that it can definitely be like detrimental to you when you're young and this is happening.
I guess it depends on how sudden it is too, right? Like if you're dumping someone, you've already like made up your mind about the situation, have had time to cope with it, whereas the person who's getting dumped, it's sudden and they haven't had time to process that situation. So like,
I'm kind of with Barb where like there's a prolonged agony that comes with dumping someone where you're going through those motions for however long to decide, and then there's the aftermath of it and the hurtings that like, whereas maybe with getting dumped, it's like, yes, it's horrible. You feel horrible, but it's not probably, unless you can't get over this heartbreak forever. James,
it's definitely an ease in, ease out kind of thing. So like if you are breaking up with someone, then you spend a lot of time like sitting on the couch going like, did they not see that this isn't working? And like, is there a way that I can like slowly nudge them in that direction so that way they come to this understanding that I also have that doesn't make me like basically like abusive in this relationship? Like, you don't want to go into the I'm gonna give them a reason to hate me kind of thing, but like just like things to like show this person. But then ultimately I feels like that never really is how things pan out. Ultimately, you have to make some sort of move and be like, all right, no one just goes like, except in romantic comedies, no one goes like, you're right. We both realize at the same time that we're wrong for each other. It's just never going to play out that way. Ultimately, someone. Yeah. And so like, you carry this like burden of like, how do they not see? And now am I trapped in this or whatever kind of thing leading up to it? And then you break up with them. And that probably for the person breaking up with the person feels like a wave of relief once it's done. And it's clear that it's a thing, and you're like, okay, now I can figure out what I'm going to do. But for the person on the other side, if they don't see this coming or they choose to ignore the signs that it's coming or whatever, then they do it in reverse, right? So they deal with the initial shock of like, I can't believe that I'm not on the same page as this person that I thought we were on the same page of, and now I need to slowly over time come to terms with the fact that maybe that wasn't the case. So it's a weird, one's jumping into a pool and one is coming out of a hot tub on a cold night.
Yeah.
So
both sucks.
Yeah.
I think there's like a Nada Surf song that talks about like, I think the song's popular or something, and it's just like, be prepared for this person to not like you. It doesn't feel good to be rejected. And you're like, yep, that's It's pretty much no one wants to be told, I prefer the company of someone else. So,
Right.
I mean, even outside of a romantic relationship, even if it's a friendship or whatever, no one wants
Or
to
a
be told that.
kidnapping return.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's the sad part. They take me and then they go, we actually prefer the company of someone else. And you go,
Could you
oh,
imagine
no.
the amount of rejection you would feel if a kidnapper was like,
Doesn't want you.
"Nah,
I don't think
want
you would
this
ever
one."
come back from it. I really think that if you were kidnapped, no one would. Here's the thing: no one would believe you.
Right.
You would be kidnapped, and then they would like let you go, and for the rest of your life, you'd be like, "I was kidnapped," and then they said like, "No, never mind," and then like let me go.
That's the
And
plot of
everyone
the
would
town.
go, "Well, that didn't happen." That would be the story that you tell people, and everyone will go, "Well, that's a load of horse shit."
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you
I mean,
go.
I
I fought
think
my way out.
I slipped through the rug.
Yeah. I slipped free. Sure, bud. Sure.
I think like, and this might be a controversial statement, I feel like the most ideal breakup is when it's very obvious to both people involved that you are arguing a lot or you're not really seeing eye to eye on like really important subject matter in the relationship, and it's clearly not working out, rather than like one person being completely checked out of it, the other person still trying really hard and not really seeing necessarily that the other person is unhappy, and then all of a sudden getting that.
I thought you were gonna say the perfect version of a breakup is a Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where both of you discover that each one of you are spies working for different agencies.
Yeah.
You know.
Then they had like super hot like
Yeah, but they figured
battle
something
sex
out,
in the kitchen.
But that's what made it a movie. Because in real life, the spies would have broken
Yeah,
up.
the real life
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that wasn't how it happened, I think.
Nuh-uh.
In the tree story, yeah.
Killing Eve is how it really would go down. So
Oh, right, yes.
things are different, Not a big deal.
If you could send one fellow human to represent humanity in a meeting with aliens, who would it be and why?
Oh, okay. This is somebody nobody knows.
Well, here's a question about this question. Are we sending someone to be a representation of all humans, or someone who we want like to be like, this is what humans are like? Because if we're picking someone realistically who represents all humans, you got to pick someone who's like neither good nor bad, right?
Oh, I see. So
Somewhere
you
in the
don't want to
middle?
send forward the best of humanity.
I don't know. Like,
I
because
already
then are we
got it.
setting the wrong example of like who we really are? Because we're not great.
Here's the thing. First impressions are very important. The way that you're introduced to people, the way that people see you, you don't get a second chance at a first impression, right? And so I think that what you have to do is set the bar in a weird place, and that's why I would send my friend Artur to meet the aliens. Artur is currently living in Japan and teaching English. Before that, he was in China teaching English. Before that, I think he was in South Korea. Before that, he was in Africa for a little bit teaching English.
Wow.
You're like, wow, he speaks a lot of languages. That's very cool. He's a crazy person. One time we went to breakfast and I was ordering eggs Benedict, and then the waitress said, "What would you like?" And he said, "Yeah, I want it like fireworks." And that's what he ordered. He's a maniac.
What did what did she bring out?
Oh no, I had to keep coaxing him until he said like pancakes. Like like, and then he was
Can't
like,
order a vibe.
But that's Artur. That's what he does. Like, that's how he operates. He would get into fights in college where people would pay him to like fight other people for like, just for like Fight Club money. And then that's what he would do. And then he would like write people's essays for them for other money. And then he's just yeah. Hey, what you have to do is you have to have a wide swath. You can't just send like, you can't just send like, oh, here's Ryan Haley's. Oh, it's kind of weird. No, you got to send
that'd
someone
be pretty cool.
broad. You got to send someone he's got languages under his belt, but he's got weird experiences. And when the aliens go, what is this? And then they meet a regular person, they go, oh, this is way easier to swallow. I totally understand what this is. This is way better.
But are you worried at all that you would push the envelope too far, and they may say, we want no part of this. We're not willing to share our technology.
I think they would see this and go, surely this cannot be all of them. Surely they can't all be like this.
Okay.
And then they would meet a second person and they would go, oh, there's a wide swath of people. It's a cornucopia of humans, and what an incredible species these people would be. Here's space travel. I don't know. What are they going to give us? guns. I don't know.
I don't know.
I still feel like you want to put your best foot forward, send the best of the best, the most likable. Tom Hanks comes to mind, though I think
Tom Hanks is a good one.
I would personally send Ian McKellen because I think he'd show up and he'd say, I can adapt. I can breed these aliens and then I can adapt however I need to be, feed off their energy. Go, this way, friends.
What about
I'll tell you about Earth. He'll
like a Neil
draw on
deGrasse
his performances.
Oh yeah.
You know?
The
Show him
only
some
problem
clips.
with like a Neil deGrasse Tyson is that he is so caught up in his own priorities.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's like sending a fan to do like an interview for something. You know, like you don't want Samuel Jackson's biggest fan to do the Avengers interview. That's just not gonna turn out well. You need someone who
deGrasse Tyson
cares about it,
is
who's
the biggest
informed
fan.
or whatever.
Of aliens, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think as much as it sounds, I think maybe a politician, I'm going to say like an Angela Merkel or what's her name? The New Zealand's Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, I think. I think someone like that, you know, who knows how to deal diplomatically with people, but then also, you know, isn't so
Sigourney Weaver.
Jack Nicholson. Oh,
yeah, or Jack Nicholson. There you go.
Both at the same time.
I really think you guys are setting the bar too high because that's a lot to live up to.
I mean, if it were up to me, I would. If it were up to me, it would be like having some sort of embarrassing family that you're trying to conceal. I think you try and create a scenario where the aliens never find out. They go, oh man, I'm surprised you've made it this far, and with only 500,000 human beings on this planet, and that would be like, you know, that would be the motif. Everyone else is hiding in mountains and stuff. You'd have to do this whole thing, you know, sweep it under the rug kind of thing. So
no Randy Quaid's.
No Randy Quaid's for sure, because we know what he does to aliens. he conspires them up in his brain.
Yeah.
His crazy brain.
If you could see an invisible measuring scale above people's heads, what would you want the scale to measure?
Height. But it's only vague. It only says like short, medium, or tall.
Could you see it or could everyone see it?
That's a great question. It says invisible measuring scale.
It says invisible, so it must just be you, right?
Just you. Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
One's opacity.
Maybe oh, sorry, Barb, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, if it's people in my life, I would say, like, measuring how many times they've talked shit about me so I could know who I want to be friends with or not.
I was thinking like an honesty metric of some kind too. Like, how is this person generally an honest person?
Yeah.
You know,
But what if
what's the
they're
hawk shit level?
Because like the problem is honesty isn't always objective, right? Like
Or the
there's always
best
so it'd be
policy.
hard. I feel like it'd be hard to measure that. So say example, it says that I'm dishonest, but it's only because I convinced the aliens there's only 500,000 people on the planet, and it was
brains.
for good. It was a
good.
lie for good.
Or telling someone that they looked great in that new shirt that they got when they really didn't. You're just trying to make their day better. You know?
Is that me? Is this my new shirt? No takesy backsies.
Your shoulders look great in that shirt.
Oh, thank you. Shoulders
speaking
are
to his
just
heart.
bones.
I think, I know it's not necessarily a measurable thing, but this to me is the most helpful information that would get me is just a
Bust
birthday.
size.
It would.
Is that what you're gonna say, Eric?
I would just say a birthday because I'm so bad at that, but also it would include year, so that way I get a twofer. I got age also.
Oh,
so
you know, when
because I don't want
somebody-
just age, I want birthday.
When someone tells me, or I find out, you know, oh, this day is this person's birthday, I go to my calendar and I add their birthday to my calendar as a recurring event
You're a genius.
every year. And it's only something I started doing within the last year, but it's already paid off in dividends. Dividends.
Are you
What dividends
March?
did you get?
I'm in May. James is
You're May.
April.
Wait, what?
and
May
then-
what?
3rd. What are you?
May 10th. Damn, we're close.
Ashley Jenkins and I have the same birthday.
Oh, that's cool. But we are both
Yeah.
Taurus.
Oh man, yeah. That's why we're so stubborn.
That's it. We're bullheaded. Uh-oh.
And we really like our environment to be comfortable in how we like it.
Yeah, and we're we're steady, but sometimes we can get a little crazy.
And
Careful, guys. I talked about astrology.
Cool.
I talked about astrology for like 20 minutes on the RT podcast yesterday, and I got a lot of shit for it, so be careful.
Oh,
I'm 2 for 2 on podcasts this week where just astrology gets talked about. This is great.
I love it. I think it's fun. But
Astrology?
people didn't like the 20-minute discussion
I wonder.
that we had.
I think that James is going to celebrate a quarantine birthday. Eric and I am not sure. I hope Barb doesn't.
This will be my second quarantine birthday.
Yeah.
Right.
I really hope we're out. Like, wow. Hey, check me out. I'm a guy on a podcast, and I say I hope we're out of the quarantine. Wow, what a surprise. But I do hope that we are out of it by the time our birthdays roll around, because I would love to see people, not even have a party for myself. I don't give a fuck about my birthday. I'm in my 30s. I don't give a shit. Who fucking cares? But it's a great excuse to just go to a bar or do anything. Have people over, something. But like, I'm not looking for people. Oh, bring me gifts. Fuck that. I don't need any of that stuff.
Just see people.
Yes. Just an excuse to get together to tear it apart. That's what I'm looking for.
I agree. No, I really hope that by April, May, we're good to go. If we're still in this by July, I'm going to be real bummed out.
Yeah. When does baseball start?
Watching other countries not be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
Although who knows what will happen. Oh, a scale to see if they've gotten the vaccine or not.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Would love that.
Yeah.
I would
Very
love that.
easy
Good one.
On that note, we're going to hear a word from a couple of our other sponsors. These days, it feels like online shopping is the only shopping that we're doing. You know what I'm saying? I know that you do. That's where today's sponsor, Honey, comes in. It's the free browser extension that scours the internet for promo codes and automatically tests them when you're checking out. Here's how it works. You get Honey on your computer. It's 2 clicks. It's so easy. And then when you're checking out, it goes to over 30,000 supported sites. Honey pops up. All you have to do is click apply coupons. Wait a few seconds. Honey searches for the best deal that you can get for coupons for that site. If Honey finds working codes, it'll apply the best one to your cart. It's great. It's easy. I can't stress enough how easy it is. It's like a little, helper that you have in your browser for when you need it. You can just click it. It's uninvasive otherwise. Honey has found its over 17 million members, over $2 billion in savings. That's a lot of money saved. It's simple. If you have a computer, Honey should be on it. And it can be. It's free and works with whatever browser you use. You can get Honey for free today at joinhoney.com/dude. That's joinhoney.com/dude. Let them know that we sent you. Please use the code. Thanks, Honey, for supporting today's episode. If you've got multiple credit cards with debt on them, you know how stressful it can be to keep track of all those balances, due dates, website logins. Upstart is the company that makes things simple with one monthly payment in one place. It's the fast and easy way to get a personal loan to pay off your debt all online. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple fixed monthly payment. It finds smarter rates with trusted partners because they assess more than just your credit score. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate upfront for loans with from $1,000 to $50,000 roonies. You can get approved the same day and receive funds as fast as one business day. If debt's taken over your life, it's time to get a fresh start with Upstart. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/dudesoup. That's upstart.com/dudesoup. Don't forget to use our URL to let them know we sent you, please. Appreciate you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/dudesoup. Thank you, Upstart. Well, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you to our sponsors. And thank you guys for answering these tough questions. Hopefully they weren't too tough. They're not. They weren't tough at all. I don't know why I keep calling them tough questions.
So hard.
These are all softballs. But yeah, thank you. I thought we could take some time now to talk about a podcast that's near and dear to my heart, which is whatever podcast Barbara happens to be doing at any given week. Could be, maybe she's the RT podcast.
Barbara,
maybe she's
this
a
is your
guest
shot.
on someone else's
Brand
podcast.
new podcast. You can pitch it right now.
Oh, Barbara, pitch that podcast.
Should I actually?
Yeah, who cares? Hey, honestly,
okay,
fuck it.
Yeah.
Barbara, straight up, pitch it. Who cares? Just do it.
Yeah, this is a rough idea. We want to do like a nostalgia podcast where we talk about like movies, TV shows, toys, food
That's so
from
cozy.
Like our childhood, like 80s and 90s and stuff like that.
I can tell you this. I won't listen to it now, but in 20 years, I'll really love
it. Nostalgia for nostalgia.
Because like I love watching movies from my childhood, and I want to see if they really hold up. And
they do.
Like, analyze that kind of stuff. I think would be fun. So still working on the details, but
love that.
Yeah.
I think it's such a good idea. I think it's fun. I think it's just like, let's get together and talk. Let's watch Fievel Goes West and then talk about that thing. And then like, let's have an episode where it's just talking about, remember Gigapets and Tamagotchis? Fuck. Let's buy some of those and see what that's all about. See if that's even something that's worth your time now.
I can't do that again. We talk about the going back to breaking up with something.
Yeah.
The like sorrow while also simultaneous relief I felt when I saw my Tamagotchi finally travel into space, evolve and fly away from me was nothing has ever come close to that feeling, because it was like, you want to start another, and I was like, I do not. I have done what I needed to do. It survived, and that's all I could hope for.
Something that 2020 made me do was feel very nostalgic all the time. All the time. I think it's because I felt like I was like back in high school or something, because like all I did was just like stay home. Like I don't know how to describe it, but there was a long period of time where I felt like I was on a summer vacation, even though I went to work every day, like even though I was working like more than ever. And I think that like we're all just in this recessive mode where we just want like comfort and things that feel. I rewatched a ton of movies, even though that's something that I don't usually do. So I love this idea. I think it's great. It's very hygge. What is the Scandinavian word for like comfort? You know.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to look it up now.
Spelled. I think it's spelled Hygge, but it's like
Huggy.
this. You know. How you it's mostly applies to design, but like you make your home very comfortable and cozy, and that's what this podcast feels like it would be.
Like a warm blanket.
Yeah,
you do it.
Yeah, because it doesn't need to be
chairs.
just because it's 80s and 90s stuff doesn't mean it has to be like loud and crazy and like look at, like, you know, you don't need like the neon and like the beginning of Saved by the Bell to be like the whole vibe. You can have it be whatever you want. I just think it's revisiting those things from that time, and I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll also be plenty of stuff from the 2000s too, because like to me that was, I mean, I was born in 89, so the 2000s were like really when I was a kid that remembers stuff. And as someone with severe anxiety, I tend to go back to watch old movies and shows that I already know what happens so to feel some sort of comfort. So I feel like it'd be a pretty easy thing to slip into.
I think that's smart too. Getting into like the 2000s is like, that's the nostalgia for now, right? Everything 20 years ago is new again, and that makes sense. And that's good too, because then you avoid most of the 90s, because I don't know if you guys know this, but the 90s was not very good. The 90s sucked. The 90s.
There was
No. There were a couple years in the 90s that were decent, but all of the early 90s is just hangover 80s, and all of the late 90s is Kid Rock and Limp Bizkit. And like, there's something going on at the beginning.
I mean, if you're looking at the music world, sure. But I think, you know, 90s had some, like, was the last bastion of children's programming, in my opinion. Stuff like Nickelodeon, I would say Nickelodeon was firing on all cylinders in like the early 90s with stuff like Ren and Stimpy and Guts, and like children's based programming was like king in the 90s.
I disagree with you. I would
say
Go ahead, Elise.
Just the fact that so many of those programs from the 80s, early 90s kids programs, they've tried to bring back, they've tried to replicate, you know, that's a testament to it.
I agree with the children's programming in the 90s being a step that is hard to overcome, but I definitely think that you're looking back at it with rose-colored glasses, because I think the stuff that was happening in the early 2000s through really that whole decade, it through Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and then through internet programming, it like puts all of that other stuff to shame, especially in children's programming. I think that just because we were young at that time, it's a lot easier to look back and be like, Rocko's Modern Life. I agree. Incredible stuff.
You're going to choose Rocko's Modern Life as an example of something that you don't think stands the test of time. They had sex jokes all over that show. It was great.
I understand.
Because I would also argue that kids programming in the 90s kids were king. in the 90s, and it was great. And then maybe the programming got a little bit more focused and targeted and like dialed in the late 90s, early 2000s. But I also think it stopped being made by adults who were like just doing whatever they wanted, which is, I think,
they're not coddling kids.
Was the best thing about kids programming back then, is that like everything they showed you was dangerous and corrupting.
Oh, I think you guys are
Darkwing Duck.
I think you guys are so off.
Darkwing Duck.
I think you guys are so off base.
Tiny Toons.
I think you look at cartoons now and stuff that is coming out now, and I think now more than ever you have adults who are doing whatever they want in their own cartoon worlds and stuff that they had never dreamed they could have done 20 years ago.
Because it's all the adults that grew up with the shit we're talking about that were influenced.
I agree,
by
and
it.
so they're pushing it further, and I just think you're looking back on things fondly.
No,
and
it wouldn't exist now.
It
wouldn't exist now without it having been the way it was.
I think you're comparing. I think you're comparing now to then, which maybe there's a discussion for that. But the 2000s to then, it's like,
Eric.
I'm sorry, I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, but there's no way to compare Backyardigans to something like Ren and Stimpy.
I am
all right.
I am a fan of the stuff in the 90s. I didn't watch. I'm not a fan of the stuff from the 2000s, but I really don't think that you can put the stuff from the 90s on the pedestal that you're putting it on. I really don't.
Children's programming aside, I think we are the last generation that lived in both worlds of. What is this? Oh, Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck.
Wow.
Case closed.
If you're when there's trouble in W,
that lived with 1 foot outside in a analog world and 1 foot in a digital world, right? Like knew both, and I think that's something very special. I'm really glad that I have that frame of reference. I still sit on my phone all day.
Yeah.
One episode of Dragon Ball Z a week. Think about that.
Dude, I watched it in Spanish because it was on TV back home in Spanish, but it was like so far ahead in it was like GT. It was like so far ahead in seasons. I didn't know what was happening. I was just watching it going like, I can't wait to figure out what's happening with Goku and the gang.
Yeah,
and it's like, none of this makes sense.
Come home from Suncoast with an OVA, and you're like, and you put it in and you don't know where you're going to land.
That to me is everything that I did with pro wrestling in the 90s was...
Oh, great segue.
Wow, can you believe I did that? Absolutely on accident? Crazy.
Great host. Great host.
That is everything that I did in the 90s. When you're talking about like programming from the 90s, everything to me was professional wrestling. That is... I mean, I went to Blockbuster and we would rent the tapes over and over and over and over again. And then my friend also had a stolen cable box, so we watch all the pay-per-views. And then we would go in the backyard.
Was it the same friend?
No, this is a different friend. This was Chris. Chris had a stolen cable box, and then we would go in his backyard and wrestle on the trampoline, and then jump off the roof and do like, I'm gonna do a frog splash. Check this out, and then like severely hurt each other. But we were like, 14 or 15, so it was like, oh,
you bounce right back.
Fine. Yeah, exactly. So it's okay.
I would watch
that
pay-per-views because with pay-per-views back then, I don't know if this is the case now, but they would start the pay-per-view, and me, a kid without that cable, would go, "Oh my God, it's working! It's working!" And because they would give you the first 5 minutes, and then they would cut the feed, and then it'd be static, and you'd be like, "Oh, I thought I had it. Thought this one time."
I thought
WrestleMania 9.
They
forgot.
WrestleMania 9 started for me and played for about 15 minutes, and I called my friend and I was like, they forgot. And then of course 15
what if
minutes
you went back
in
time to tell young James that you're now hosting a wrestling show? Would that just blow your little mind?
And Eric, what if you went back and told young Eric that you're now producing a wrestling show?
I would say that in the year 2004, I used to drive from San Diego to Los Angeles to Los Feliz to watch Pro Wrestling Guerrilla in a Jewish community center that was like just a dump down the street from my uncle's house. And I watched Scorpio Sky wrestle, who's James' co-host.
Wow.
I watched Scorpio Sky wrestle in like 2004 when he wore a mask and was in a tag team. Like, I've been a fan of Scorpio. Yes, it's insane that this is happening because I've been a fan of Scorpio Sky since, for over 15 years probably.
That's surreal. Can you guys give us the elevator pitch of the podcast? Or
James, do it.
The staircase pitch, escalator pitch if you want.
Yeah.
However.
James Willems and Scorpio Sky get together every single week to talk about everything that just went on in the past 7 days. And we're talking about news stories, including why is there a rat on that subway train? A man-sized rat. Everything, the highs and lows of the week. So we're going to go through it. And then, of course, Scorpio Sky is an amazing wrestler and has a ton of insight into the world of AEW, and so we're going to be touching on that. But again, it's a podcast for people who love wrestling, who already subscribe to podcasts that recap everything and just tell you the stuff that you watched on the programming of the week before. We're going to kind of get into more nitty gritty personal stuff and just make it a fun podcast that it lives in the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah. The test episodes that we've done have been really fun. Like, James and Sky didn't know each other when we started this. This is just something like, what if Rooster Teeth and AEW did a podcast? And then it sort of just ballooned and became this.
Did we pitch it to them or did they pitch it to us? Like, how did that work?
I think it was
Eric, you pitched it, I thought, right?
I did. I've been working on this. Been working on this for like a year. This was some stuff that was brought to us like a long time ago. Like, hey, would there be interest? And then it was like, yes, I have an idea. And then revamping the idea and moving it around. I'm doing hand stuff too. And ooh, that's fun. And then this became Wrestling with the Week. That is just Sky and James. What Sky always says is they just get together and chop it up, and I love that. I love that, just sort of like talking about whatever. I mean, there was an episode where we just started talking about 1-900-909-9900, the WCW hotline number, which is like a crazy throwback to like mid 90s pro wrestling. But we also started talking about $1,300 shoes that Sky is like, James, you got to buy some like new shoes, because James is showing off his fucking Road Rash motorcycle crash shoes. Yeah, and so it's so back and forth, but then capping it off with Sky's been in a feud with Sean Spears, and then talking about that and like awesome insight into what's going on there and what they're doing, talking about how Shaq's been on AEW recently. Snoop Dogg was just on AEW recently.
Wasn't crazy about his frog splash. No offense, Snoop Dogg.
No, he did.
He fell on your feet first. You fell on your feet first, and you also asked them to put you. They pulled him closer. Snoop Dogg was like, closer. Come on.
Yeah. So it was like, that's the kind of stuff. AEW, I'll be honest. I'm a gigantic professional wrestling fan. I'm huge. I'm a huge pro wrestling fan. If I have one hobby, it is pro wrestling. I mean, I watch like 90s Japanese women's wrestling. Like I go deep on this stuff, that I really, really enjoy it. And to produce a show with someone who works in pro wrestling in what I consider the best professional wrestling company on earth right now in All Elite Wrestling, in AEW, I am thrilled to be a part of it. AEW has reignited my love with pro wrestling weekly. It is fantastic.
Awesome. The James aspect?
And also,
I thought he was talking about me. Was he not describing me?
James is there. You know, he shows up. He's been on time most of the time.
I am.
That's how well Liddy is.
Yeah,
I'll say this. I think some of the stuff that makes this show really fun, because again, it premieres on Monday, but in preparation for it, we just recorded episodes that people will probably never hear. You can see clips of them in like the trailers and stuff, but like, we recorded basically full episodes as just like a test. And I think one of the cool things about it is that Sky and I are like overall very different people.
Oh yeah.
We're both fans of wrestling. He also, and I a fan of his and everything like that. But we're on a similar wavelength where everything's kind of open. The whole world is fun and exposed, like, and there's no thing that's off limits to discuss or whatever. But then we always can kind of gravitate back to this like thing that we share, which is an admiration for a entertainment sport that like, transcends all things. So it is a really, and I just want to reemphasize that it is really fun to see at the end of any given episode, like, what did we talk about? And again, Eric is a producer on this, and he does an amazing job. Like, here are the bullet points, but how we get through these topics, and if we even land on these topics at all, it doesn't matter, and it's a shorter, punchier podcast, which I think is also really good for it too. And it should be a lot of fun. Also, fingers crossed, we're working with AEW really closely on this, so the prospect of having even more people from that team come and join us on the podcast. We're definitely planning on having guests and stuff but then also you take someone that you see in this capacity on screen or whatever, and then you put them in a new environment and you just kind of like let them talk about expensive shoes. It's like, it's kind of fun,
I love that. Yeah. Hear from people who aren't typically on podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's really fun. And Sky was talking about having like over 100 pairs of shoes. And it's like, what do you do?
Where do you go?
What do you do with 100 pairs of shoes? And it's like,
it's like a collector thing,
display?
Right?
Yeah, that's what he had.
Yeah.
Well, I thought my favorite part is talking about it in like some of these test episodes where he's talking about collecting these shoes is he started getting some of the other wrestlers and stuff into collecting shoes, like the Young Bucks and a few other people. So now they'll buy shoes and they'll post stuff on Instagram and tag Sky. And then Sky was talking about this going like, I just saw like Britt Baker bought like these new Air Force Ones and it just made me so jealous. I went out and bought 2 pairs of shoes. And it's like, what is that?
The sneakerhead culture.
That's how I am with food.
That's what
I'm like,
we're talking about McDonald's all of a sudden.
Yeah, I see someone I'm on a Zoom call and someone goes, "I'm gonna get KFC later." I'm like, I'm gonna fuck you. I'm gonna get KFC later.
Now I have to.
Yeah,
I'm with you, Elise. Same boat.
That's what I do.
Damn.
Yeah.
Did you?
Barb and I are next level.
Yeah, we're on a high. We should go meet the aliens. We would be a good representation of humanity. When you guys were coming up with the title, was that just like the most annoying part of it? Because I don't know about you guys, titling a show or a podcast is like the most, I don't want to say like aggravating because it's also fun. It's just like you want to get the perfect name.
Yeah. For the nostalgia show, I'd recommend Nostalgist because it's the gist of what's nostalgic.
That's good. That's a good one. That's a good one to start thinking on it with and see where it takes you.
The nostalgiz.
Never mind. That one's it. That's it. We're done.
Like
Write it down. Write it down.
Yeah.
This show, we got kind of lucky with the titling where we started in like kind of an AEW direction and then went kind of like a Scorpio Sky direction, and we just kind of like played with it. And then really, I think by like the second or third time we were talking about something, we landed on Wrestling with the Week. And when we said it out loud, we all just kind of went, oh, I think that's it. Yeah. I think Wrestling with the Week is it. That's like an all-encompassing, right? That's like an all-encompassing thing that it's wrestling. And Sky's thing here was like, I don't want this to be only wrestling fans. I want this to be, if you watch wrestling, great, then this is something for you. But if you don't have anything to do with pro wrestling, I don't want you to think that this is a pro wrestling show. And so when we started doing the show logo and everything, that was his note, and I thought that was a fantastic note.
Like sky's the limit.
Yeah, that was I think that was one of the ones that I pitched. Yeah, that was in the batch of ones that were just like, well, here's your name.
Yeah.
In the show title.
I think Wrestling with the Week is such a great title.
Yeah, I think the logo is. I think the logo is awesome.
I pushed for it to be WEAK, and I would be the week in the title.
Like fails of the week.
Yeah, and the image would be Sky standing over me. But no, we went in a different direction.
Omar just sent me. Oh, hang on. This is ridiculous.
Oh, look.
Omar just sent me a picture of 140 pairs of shoes that are on display at his house.
Oh yeah, his wall of shoes. His wall
Omar
of
has
shoes,
a ton of shoes too.
Dog.
And I don't.
Omar's great sneakerhead. I was going to tap him for
space.
some stuff for info on that too.
Well, and here's the thing too: is like if he still has the same storage system that he used to have, it was like containers,
the clear blocks,
which I have a bunch of for my maybe like 20 pairs of shoes. And I should preface this by saying that I was the kind of person that like I owned one pair of shoes until I was like 25 years old, and then I was like, oh, I have money, I can buy other shoes. So the fact that I have like this many shoes now blows my mind, and every day I feel guilty that I live this way with my more than 10 pairs of shoes. But I think about how much they take up space in like my life, and the Omar, the volume that he owns, like is crazy to me.
Crazy.
The thing that's annoying about collecting shoes is that there's two of them. So like if you like a pair of shoes, you have two of them. You don't need two of them if you're just using it for display.
One of our good friends
collecting single shoes to save space.
Or like pick a buddy that you guys like collect shoes together with. So like whatever he or she gets, you could like split them up.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's what Omar said.
Bender
And it's
came out.
like, dude, that's
So
wild.
Yeah, we're counting the ups and downs.
Yeah, because we kept poking Sky, like, hey, so do you have these on display? And he just went, I used to, and then I ran out of room, and now they're all in my closet, under my bed, on shelves, under shelves, behind stuff, and I'm like, that's
Tim Geddes. Go ahead.
What if you only stored them in those shoe pockets that you put on back of doors? So every door in your house had one of those shoe pockets. Sorry, James, what were you gonna say?
I was just say Tim Geddes has already a pretty great setup, but I've noticed that like he has like a shelf that goes around that like screening room that he has. And I've seen he's put shoes up there, and I'm like, that's a great design, like because it's basically like having like a potted plant or whatever, you know, like or like art or some sort of small art or whatever.
We have a friend that half of her body is kind of bigger than the other half. So like if she puts her hands up next to each other, like one hand is like noticeably larger than the other.
Whoa.
And she's a little like off, off centered because of it. But one of her feet is like a full size larger than the other.
Oh, wow.
Foot. So she has to buy like when she buys shoes, like she has to buy 2 pairs of the. But I think there are companies now that will do, because they're trying to, be more accessible to people. They will sell like you can buy 1 shoe or you can buy 2 shoes, and like Converse might be one or New Balance. I can't remember, but
wow.
But then of course your selection is very limited.
Right.
But you gotta buy a 2 pair.
That's an expensive purchase to have whenever you want to buy a shoe. A pair of shoes, you have to get 2. That sucks.
What about the Nostalwarts?
Again, we're just spitballing here.
Okay, but let's lock it in. What if we lock it in?
Guys, don't just be saying these like publicly. Someone's gonna take one of them.
Oh, sorry.
That's true.
Sorry.
So there you go. Anyway, wrestlingwiththeweek.com is where you can go subscribe, or you can just go on Spotify or wherever you get podcasts or whatever. Where do people get podcasts? Apple Podcasts, that's a thing.
I use Google Podcasts.
Are you high?
I use the Google Podcast app.
So
this is a good example. This is a perfect example of the show. You see Sky, who's holding up his brilliant white expensive shoe, and I am holding up my white. What's going on? And I'm holding up my Xbox. So that's kind of 2 different worlds, but colliding.
Yeah. Sky doesn't play video games, so that's always weird, except he just started. He said that he was never into video games, but also he was actively against them.
Yeah,
it wasn't. Did he just think it was like a productivity thing or something?
Probably, but I guess we'll get more into that in the show.
Yeah,
but
please.
But then the NBA season was in question, so he bought a PlayStation 4 and NBA 2K, and he's like, it's all I do now.
So he gets basketball.
He's in. We got him, guys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's hooked.
Well,
he bought a PS5, like, just for this shit, too. Like, just so he could play the new
He was able to get one?
God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Barbara,
God,
he's a
we still haven't been
TV
able to-
wrestler. He can do anything.
You're right. You're right.
I am only a bystander that will listen to James record it and hear how much fun he's having and laughing and how much fun it sounds. So I'm very excited and very proud for you guys, and James especially. I think, with his love of wrestling, he won't get as emotional as Eric, but I think it's probably surreal to him too.
No, he's gonna cry. I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. He rose like a funny, like a cartoon rabbit.
You look like the New York subway rat man.
I'm really happy for you guys, and yeah, check out Wrestling with the Week. Thanks so much, Barb and Eric, for jumping in.
Oh, thanks for having us.
I don't think a kidnapper should return any of us. I think they should want
They'd like us a lot.
just the way we are.
Yeah, they should keep me kidnapped, lock me up, and then throw away the key.
Oh no!
Don't say it like
Cody,
that.
Thank you so much to our TD Cody, and thank you all for watching and listening. We'll see you next week. Toodles.